Good morning to you. Mark Suttle, HurricaneTrack.com here with your Hurricane Pro and HD video blog for Wednesday, the 23rd of October, 2013. In the Atlantic Basin this morning, nothing really to talk about of any interest, except Lorenzo, if you're into what we call fish storms, way out here bothering only the fishes, probably not even bothering them. 45 mile per hour winds, 1,006 millibars. On the pressure of the forecast track, keeps it way out here over the open Atlantic. Looking at the satellite presentation for the Atlantic Basin today, we'll look at a visible shot here. Not a lot going on anywhere outside of Tropical Storm Lorenzo, which generated a maybe one or two ACE points. I'll have to look at that. Remember, ACE is the Accumulated Cyclone Energy Index, and it's a better measure of how a season performed. You can have a lot of named storms. We've had 12 this year, which is above the long-term 100-year average. Normally we have about 10 named storms over the past 100 years or so. In the last 20 years, that average has gone up, mostly due to better detection with satellites, but also because there's been a few more named storms here and there each year due to the warm Atlantic multi-decadal oscillation, which is just a fancy way of saying that we have been in this global uptick of tropical cyclone activity over the last 20 years or so, and especially in the Atlantic Basin. So there's Raymond. You can see the center of circulation now well exposed, and some northerly shear coming in on top of this, pushing the convective activity away from that low-level center, and that will be the demise of Lorenzo over time. It'll steadily weaken. Elsewhere across the Atlantic Basin, maybe a weak tropical wave here, another one here, and then we've got this stalled out, or eventually stalling out, frontal boundary, trying to maybe lower the pressures a little bit down in the Bay of Campeche. You have to watch these because from time to time they will be the focusing mechanisms for converging air at the surface, and then if upper level winds support upward motion in a favorable way, then maybe something will develop. But the global computer models don't show anything. In fact, if we look at the GFS, here's day 3 from last night's run, and really nothing in the Atlantic Basin at all. No closed areas of low pressure. Here's that frontal boundary still draped down across portions of the southwest Atlantic and almost to the northern reaches of the Caribbean. Even looking out at day 5, for example, on the GFS, still no closed areas of low pressure anywhere down here in the typical breeding grounds for this time of year. And this is valid out on October 28th. And then going farther out into time, or further, I guess is the correct way to put it, just looking out at day 8, for example, still nothing out in the Atlantic Basin. And this takes us all the way out to Halloween, October the 31st, and there's nothing down here at all in the Caribbean Sea, and certainly nothing up here along the East Coast where Sandy impacted millions of people around this time last year. Such is not going to be the case this year. In the Eastern Pacific, tropical storm Raymond finally moving away from the coast of Mexico. Looking at its track map, you can see that it'll continue to do so. So finally this area of Mexico can get some relief. No more heavy rain from Raymond as it moves on away and stays out over the open waters of the Eastern Pacific Ocean, and there's no new areas to worry about. In the Western Pacific, some very good news with Typhoon Francisco. It looks like it will turn pretty sharply off to the northeast here, and it will generally miss Japan with direct impacts. So that's great news for that area. The typhoon slowly weakening over cooler waters and a different upper level environment, drier air starting to get pulled into it from the trough that's coming in, and this will turn off to the northeast pretty sharp and not bother, at least with direct impacts, anybody in Japan. There'll be some wind and rain along the coast, certainly because it's a large typhoon, but they'll take that over a direct hit from a typhoon any day of the week. Otherwise, things are pretty quiet, and looks to remain that way as we end the month of October. All right? Well, have a good rest of your Wednesday. Thanks for tuning in. Again, I am Mark Sudduth for HurricaneTrack.com. Always an honor and a privilege to produce these videos for you on Hurricane Pro in HD. I'll talk to you again tomorrow.